Hey everyone, and welcome to the NintendoFuse Podcast. This is episode 249. Tonight we're going to be talking all about E3, unfortunately being canceled this year. And also going to be talking about New Games Plus Expo and a lot more stories. But before we get into any of that, it's time for introductions. My name is Steve. I'm so grateful to be here with you all, and also grateful for our co-hosts, as always. Barry, how's it going?
Hey, Steve, it's great to be here. It's a busy time. I'm just finishing my dinner now as we speak. I didn't get home until 10 minutes before the podcast and had a had a rush to the computer eating here. Like
Nice.
whatever, I just gotta go. Yeah.
Nice. Well, what are you having for dinner?
Well, I had a chicken sandwich, but I've got a cookie left over, so
Okay.
I'm just eating the cookie.
Nice. Nice.
Good stuff. Tease you all.
Greg, how's it going over there?
Things are going pretty well over here. I had some fun organizing my Animal Crossing cards for this last podcast, so that's a great thing to finally got through accomplished.
Nice. Nice. I have not picked up any of those Animal Crossing cards yet, but I've also not booted up Animal Crossing in months, so I don't feel like I'm really missing out for sure. And I'm just going to refer to the chat, but I haven't told you about the chat yet. If you're new to the NintendoFuse podcast, we have a live chat going on while we record this episode, every episode pretty much. And Jared is in there right now and saying, you're making him hungry now because you've been talking about chicken sandwiches and cookies there, Barry. So,
I'm sorry. Not sorry.
nice, sorry. What type of cookie? The world wants to know.
Oh, it's a sugar cookie. Sugar
Oh,
cookie.
okay, nice, nice.
I'm
Cool.
Correct
simple.
choice was chocolate chip.
Well, we're going to be jumping into all the Nintendo news in just a bit. We're going to be talking about what we've been playing and all that sort of thing. But before we jump into that, we just want to ask you, if you are new to the Nintendo Fuse podcast or new to Nintendo Fuse as a whole, be sure to subscribe here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app, wherever you're listening to this. Be sure to check out NintendoFuse.com. Share this podcast, share our YouTube channel, our website, and everything with other gamers that enjoy this sort of thing. It's a huge benefit to us, but also we just really love growing this community. We also have social media. If you've not joined us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, we're at NintendoFuse, and we're also on Discord. You can see the link on the screen, and also going to be in our show notes and the YouTube description. So love being able to just connect with all of you in between the episodes. So yeah, we pretty much record this live every other Monday. We switched to Mondays like a couple months ago, and I'm still on Tuesday apparently. So every other Monday, we record this live. And if you have not joined us for a live episode, be sure to do that. We record live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time, and we absolutely love interacting with you all through the chat throughout the whole episode. So we got several people that are in there already. I'm seeing a lot of people: Logan and Hiawatha and Jared and Gyro Tiger and Jakester's in there. Yeah, I think that's all of them right now. But lots of messages just like popping up like crazy. I can't keep up right now. But we'll refer to you guys as much as we can throughout the live episode. Right now, we're going to be getting into what we've been playing recently. So be sure to let us know what you have been playing in the chat, and we'll refer to that pretty soon as well. We'll kick us off, Barry. What have you been playing?
Yeah, still doing Animal Crossing and Pokemon Unite, just doing the daily stuff. I'm amazed I'm still doing Animal Crossing, to be honest, but it's just something that my wife does, so I kind of do it with her, and it's just still doing daily stuff and just trying to collect the last of the DIYs. And unfortunately, Zipper's back in town, so the eggs are everywhere, and I'm having PTSD for the 2020 Easter event before they toned it down, and you couldn't do anything without getting eggs, and the air raids coming up, over over skies, and it was a crazy time to play. Finished Rune Factory 5. That's what I was playing last time, and much faster, much faster of a game versus the other ones. They seem to have streamlined the main story, and even still, they delay it. They're like, oh, here's a part of it. You have to wait till the next day to continue. You start the game on like spring 6. It's 4 months, for the 4 seasons, and I finished on like summer 7. So I didn't even get to see anything in autumn, anything in winter. I didn't do a lot that I wanted to do. I never got married. No girl would even go on a date with me due to the
Aw.
RNG. I was terribly unlikable, I guess. But it's a great game. Do I think Rune Factory 4 is better? Yes. And I think that's mainly because of the Rune Factory 4 uses like a 16-bit 2D sprite. However, Rune Factory 4 does have a lot of RNG when it comes to progression of the story, and sometimes you have to wait an entire week or more just to get the next story mission to pop up. Rune Factory 5 is much more streamlined, but it's 3D. It's their first 3D game, and it does kind of look like a late N64, early PS2 3D game. So don't expect amazing vistas at all. But the combat is fun, the story is fun, the characters are great, and definitely recommend giving it a try if you've never played Rune Factory. It's Zelda meets Harvest Moon, a lot of fun. Then I've also played Terrorbane, which we are going to be talking about in depth here shortly, so I'm not going to get into it. And I finally started on the PS5 what I had planned to start, which was Horizon Forbidden West. I went and did Zero Dawn. I needed a little bit of a break. I got that break, and now I'm starting Forbidden West. And so far, I'm having a lot of fun. The accessibility is nice. Being able to see where you can climb is a big plus. It's still not totally responsive as I would like it to be. And for some reason, and this seems to really be a Sony thing with their 3D action adventure games, you can't pull the camera back. Like, I don't need the camera to be that close. Please, you give me all these accessibility options that you win awards because you can do all this stuff. How about camera? Let me move the camera back a little bit. I don't need to be right up Aloy's butt. Like, please, just, a little bit back farther. I prefer more aerial views in the 3D games, or at least to be farther back to see more. But I would just like that. But that's a minor nitpick. The game is so far very good. I have not officially gone to the Forbidden West. I'm on the quest to do that now because you do start in the East. But yeah, I am enjoying it. And if you like open world games, then of course. On the PC, speaking of games that do allow you to pull back, still playing Final Fantasy 14. Although I've been very busy this past week, I haven't. But 6.1 is being updated tonight as we speak. So tomorrow, new story, new content, a lot of stuff I've been waiting for. So it's going to be, for my limited time, Final Fantasy 14 and Horizon are really going to be fighting. Provided something else doesn't come out this week that it goes, oh my God, I shouldn't have started Horizon yet.
Nice.
And then mobile, for some reason, I'm still playing Dragalia Lost. I'm still doing daily stuff, and I'm still going through it. Yeah. Well, I'm waiting for the story to finish. But it's just like habit. It's like I'm just doing it while I can. I know I got all the last summons they did, and the anniversary event is ending, and it's bittersweet. They do like at the beginning of every month they do this month in Dragalia Lost they put out like here's all the different events, and then at the end of it it's like here's what we're doing in May, in June, in July, and in August, and this is going to be the last this month in Dragalia Lost, and I'm like, that's really sad. Like, you just like, here's everything else, how little we're doing. We're just going to throw repeats at you, and we're not going to even take the time to give you here's what this month is. So you can tell they're pretty much checked out, and it's sad. But I'm still doing Mario Kart Tour as well, and I'm still having fun with that. And that's making Nintendo money, so I should be safe for a while.
Nice.
Like I said, for a while.
For a while. We'll see.
Yeah, for a while, of course.
Let's go to the chat real quick. Looks like Hiawatha has been playing mostly Pokemon Unite with the family. And Jakester finished up Pokemon Legends Arceus the other day. Thought it was just all right. Continuing Monster Hunter Stories 2. And now the final boss doing Fire Emblem 3 Houses and FGO. Ninja Lunchbox has been playing Earthbound Beginnings, Terrorbane on his third run. And getting close to finding all the glitches. And Super Cyborg and Halo Infinite multiplayer and some Pac-Man 99. So he's been playing a lot. Gyro Tiger, a lot of games in progress. Super Neptunia, the RPG NSW, Sinran, Kagura. Is that how you pronounce that game? I don't know what that game is. But also Triangle Strategy, Ultra. Man, he is throwing a bunch of games that I can't pronounce. I am so sorry for that, Gyro Tiger. You're gonna have to put the pronunciation in the chat room. It was awful.
Oh, that's a good game, actually.
I'm sure it is, but it's hard to pronounce. What is that?
I think it's Udawara Numara or Mono or something.
Sure,
There's like a whole
yeah.
series of them.
What you said. Uh, I'm sure it's a fantastic game, but it's really hard to pronounce. And several other people been playing Horizon as well. Romancing Saga. Woodman also got the new Borderlands. Just beat Kirby as well. And yeah, so lots of games being played. Greg, what have you been up to?
Well, let's just continue the Kirby train. Like, I finished 100%ing it since the last podcast. I had some doubts about completing that Ultimate Cup Z, but after Barry's tips, it kind of made it much of a cakewalk. And the wise Waddle Dee kept making it seem like it was better to do it without items and others like amiibos and everything like that. So I was kind of iffy if I was going to be able to actually do it, but I just took the coward's way out. I'm like, you know what? I could just take this on with items. It's not that big of a deal, and it's actually unlocks stuff that I did want to complete. So, I mean, if I do want to ever go back and take the challenge on, I can always do that, and at least I have the final rewards to have it 100%. So that was one heck of a game, and definitely looking forward to experiencing some of Kirby's other titles. I was going to be trying to look into the 3DS ones before those get taken offline forever. So that was going to be definitely on my radar before next month when that starts getting shut down. Let's see. Then other games I've been playing. I did dabble a tad into Animal Crossing this last weekend. I did find more cards at the Target store, which I also posted about in our Discord. So I picked up like Raymond and like Audie, two of the most popular villagers, at least when the game was out. I don't know if they're still as popular nowadays, but I'm just happy to finally have them and actually kind of want them in my island. So I've been logging in just at least to try to get them to move in and kick out some of the ones that have been there for quite some time that haven't been talked to. They were scrutinizing me like, "Oh, where have you been the last 2 months?" And I'm like, "Sorry," but that's just how that goes with that. Terrorbane, obviously, which we'll be talking about more in depth in a little bit, and then finally, due to my daughter's newfound reading ability, she really got more into Among Us. So like we played super hardcore this past weekend, and she really enjoyed seeing like the chat and being able to like read like, oh, vote for this person, vote for that person, or this person says they're like lying about this, or the location of this is over there, and can actually read like what tasks she's supposed to do, and like it's just like such an eye opener that she can actually understand like what the game is about and what she can do, and it's been that much more fun. Surprisingly, we haven't run into too many people like making the experience bad at all. So I've been very thankful to be participating in that with her as well. Like we're normally in the same room, and we always like having that heads up that like we have two eyes on the same game, and it's like it's almost like a semi cheat code. Like, oh, we know the imposter is this person because he killed me or she killed her or whatever. So
Let's call it. That really is cheating, Greg, but it's okay.
I'm pretty sure we're not the only ones to do that.
No,
but,
no, I played with a group of people before, and I'm sure it's really annoying for like the one person that's not in our group.
Oh yeah, of course. That also takes away the fun of it too.
Yeah. I mean, we did have one epic game, like the very last one we did on Sunday. Pretty much, I was using like this hat that kind of looked like Link's hat. It was like a green hat that looked the one that the classic Link wears, not obviously Breath of the Wild. And then like I was green, and then like this other guy just decided he wanted to be the other shade of green, and then he put on that same hat. And then my daughter thought it was kind of funny just to wear the same hat. And then we had like 3 or 4 other random people in the room changing to that hat, and I was like, I assembled like this little team here. Like it was like so cool.
And one of them is the imposter.
Oh, it totally was, because it was like, hey, the one with the person with the green hat killed me, and I'm like, well, I can't control who's the imposter. So
that's brilliant. That's a great strategy there.
Nice.
I know that is kind of flattering that like everyone just started pretty much cosplaying my character with like the Link hat, but that was just one of those fun moments that you can't really replicate very often, anyways. But yep, and then still had Fire Emblem Heroes, the safest of the Nintendo mobile games from getting the axe. So I have really strongly debated getting Dragalia Lost so I can at least see the end of the story. I did really like the story back then, and I think it was only around like chapter 7 or 8, like when I last played it, and I was pretty shocked. I was pretty shocked to see how high that up, because at least it felt like when I was playing, like they weren't really adding story segments very frequently at all. So I feel like they must have just been dropping like 5 a month or something, like since I
No,
stopped playing.
every month they've been doing it.
Hmm.
They were
Okay.
doing it every other month for a while, and then they started breaking up like half every month. But yeah, the story gets really good, and that's one of the biggest things about these games disappearing. You don't get to experience a great story, a Nintendo story.
Yep.
Yeah, so I've been strongly debating just like kind of see that story through. I mean, what turned me away was all that multiplayer content, anyways, and obviously that's the part that's going to be basically gone when the game dies. So won't have to really focus too much on that and just spend the stamina on the story and not mindless grinds and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yep,
It's worth it.
Yep, that's it for me though.
All right. Before I share, I'll go back to the chat. Woodman says Kirby was amazing. Gyro Tiger also apologized for the complicated game list, but he's a pretty niche gamer. Yeah, and also I can't pronounce anything that's like not overtly
Not English.
Yeah, like if it's not really clear English, I have no idea how to pronounce it. So I'm sure they're fantastic games. Don't let my pronunciation derail you at all from any of that. Yeah, a lot of you guys are continuing to talk about all of that. The games as well. So keep up the chat going. I've been playing WRC 10. So I didn't play 9, but I played 8 on Switch, and so picked up 10 for I got it as a promo code or review code for the game, and been playing that. It's an interesting game. It's because it's more of a racing sim. It's like an off-road racing sim, and like it's like somewhat tough to control. It looks okay. It looks just like they're trying to up-res 720 is what it looks like. So it's not awful, but it's like compared to what modern games, like especially racing games, look like it should look better. So, but it's not horrible. But honestly, the worst thing about that game is not the game itself. It's that it's on Switch, because the controller doesn't have analog triggers. Like, it's really tough to play a racing sim without analog triggers, because I want to be able to control the amount of acceleration that I can give the car, and it's all or nothing with the Pro controller, or actually any controller on Switch. So that's really unfortunate. But the game's fun. I would just say get it on a different system that has analog triggers on the controllers. And then been playing Terrabane. We'll just talk about that in just a second. And Rocket League, of course. And I always forget to mention this, but I still play Clash Royale like quite a bit on mobile as well. And trying to just max out everything now. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'm surprised you haven't jumped into Life is Strange 2 yet.
I haven't yet. Yeah, I'm trying to like I know that it's going to be, one of those games that I'm going to not want to put down. So I'm trying to find a good chunk of time that I can dedicate to just trying to play through all of it. That's the problem. Like lately, I've only got like 30 minutes here or there to be able to play. So that's what I really want to do, is just like play for like an entire day and just go through the story, because a lot of times it hurts to like put it down. I'm like, I want to know what's going on in the story, but it's like binging a really good show. It's like, I don't want to stop, but I need to sleep, or I need to go work, or I need to eat, or whatever, so that's kind of what it's like. So I'm trying to find a good timing for all that. Yeah, let's jump into this game chat for this episode, and that's Terrabane. And Barry, how about you kick us off, and let's talk about this game.
Absolutely. So Terrabane just came out on April 1st, 2022. It was Bit9 Studios is the developer, and published by Whisper Games. This is a single-player action adventure role-playing puzzle, very unique experience that has a wonderful aesthetic, a very 16-bit graphical aesthetic, a lot of depth, a lot of humor, and a lot of Easter eggs. And I guess it's kind of like comparing it to like games like Undertale, like in a subcategory of these, unique titles that do something different. They take the formula and they kind of throw it out the window, and they expect you to play the game due to the formula, and that's not exactly the way to play the game. So I say let's go over to Greg. Why don't you start off and talk about your experience with Terrorbane?
Sure. So, um, I had a lot of fun with it. It really reminded me of like a Axiom Verge in a sense, because that like uses like glitches and like stuff as part of the actual gameplay, but obviously that was used in a much different way than this. I was just making the comparison of just like using glitch to have as a game mechanic, and I really like the way that they kind of used it here. So it's like you can be trying to interact with certain people and certain objects, and then it'll be like, oh wait, like this is broken, and they like call it a game bug, and then there's like this pseudo developer council thing that like comes up as part of the storyline, and it's really cool to be like, oops, I forgot to fix this, or oh, you shouldn't be able to do that, or um I was too lazy to fix this, like you're not supposed to find that. And like it was really cool like how they worked that into the exploration thing, and it felt really rewarding to like find all these different like UI elements that were obviously purposely designed to be that way, and it was just a very interesting take and very cool element to the story. And I was really enjoying my time with it so far, and it will definitely be a game that I will be continuing to play as the time goes on. The soundtrack and the gameplay was all really flawless, and it's almost like a retro RPG kind of style game that has a story and exploration and stuff. And I just had so much fun playing it so far, and I really want to get further into it. I mean, it's gets pretty crazy with like you could just have like a pack of like a crate of pears, like join your party and stuff. Like it's like really silly and really great. Like the ideas that they put into this game, it's a lot of fun.
I couldn't agree more. Steve, what about you? How's your experience with it? And then I'll go last.
It's really interesting to hear you guys talk about it and praise the game so much because I did not like it. um, yeah, I think the concept is really interesting. I love like where they're going with it. But I felt like it was too crazy and like there wasn't enough like I wasn't in any section long enough, and maybe because I made decisions that accidentally like made me fly through the game a little faster. I don't know, and then I got stuck on some sections that just kept repeating. Like there's some areas where I was just like progressing super fast, and I was like, oh okay, I guess we're just moving on to the next style of game or whatever. And then I had one section where it just kept repeating and repeating and repeating. And I was like, what in the world's going on? And it was really difficult to beat some of the RPG matches and stuff like games, because especially when it started glitching out. And I was just like, what do I do in this instance? And finally I got through that, and then I had to rebuild the game. But then there was an area like like one thing you have to do, and it was not obvious at all. I clicked everything, and I finally had to go to the internet and was like, okay, someone else please put a playthrough on there so I could see what to do. And there was like this one little card on a little menu that I had to click to drag around. I'm like, I had no idea it was there. Everything else was like pretty obvious except for that thing. And I was like, there's no way to get past it. So like, I felt like it wasn't even. Like it was all over the place. And like some of that is by design, I know, but like it was a little too crazy for me to actually enjoy it. And I know you can go back and play it over and over and over again. I don't want to go back and play it over and over again. I don't want to find all the glitches because it was too crazy for me. And yeah, so it's just interesting, like how this game can be polarizing even among the three of us. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah. See, I fell in love with this game because, I'm, being an older school gamer. I remember the days when, the internet in its infancy, learning how to code HTML and how websites work. And there used to be a website, I couldn't tell you the name of it now, but pretty much it had all these puzzles. And all these puzzles were like, it would give you a question, or it might give you an answer and you had to figure out the question, and that was it on the page. And like, what do I do here? And you actually had to go like into the source code of the page and figure out and piece together, and it was like really crazy stuff. And it really had you think outside the box to solve these really cool puzzles. And I always loved that. I love that idea of let's take something that you know and really stretch it, and make you think. Let's make you think, oh, it's easily go right, and then no, it's not. And like area you're talking about with the card, the little tiny card, I found the card, but then I couldn't figure out like what do I do? How do I get this last thing? Because you had to build three things,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I figured it out, because I had to go to the desktop and I had to move things around, I'm like, oh, that's genius! Like
Mm-hmm.
that's so cool. Like I never thought about doing that, and I don't want to spoil anything. But this is one of those games where I beat it. It took me about 3 or so hours to beat the game, and I was like, all right. But then I looked at the bug list because there's all these bugs, and each chapter has three versions, and they're very different, the chapters. So I went back and, I saw things the second playthrough that I never saw. Like the first playthrough, I went through a text adventure that
Mm-hmm.
other people might not have ever experienced the text adventure. The second playthrough, I wound up doing what we were talking about with the credit card. I didn't do that in my first playthrough at all.
That's
You
interesting.
know, there's a bunch of different ways to experience and what to do, and there's even some, like, one of the crazy things to get a weird thing is in the second area. If you leave town, which you may not even want to leave town, but you can leave town, and there's a map to explore, and like you can go and there's like this evil den, and they're looking for power, and you can go take one of the power items and just walk over and give it to them, and you rule the world. Like that's one of the endings, and it's like, well, like that's cool that they threw that in there. A lot of quirky stuff. There's a lot to explore. There's a lot to see. The RPG battles are very, very unique. They're like, I don't know. They're like in one chapter they're very standard RPG fare, but in another chapter they're very, very, very different. And I don't want to say how or why, but from what I haven't gotten to this yet, when you get enough bugs, because the idea, the purpose of the game is to show the developer that there's enough bugs that the game is broken, you actually get a brand new chapter with, that's the same length as the other chapters, with the true ending and everything going on. So there is a lot of depth to this. It does take replayability, but you will see some really crazy ideas, and sometimes you have to have certain items. And Steve, when I said the text adventure, I saw you nodding,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a feeling you got it the same way I got it. You got an item, and then the whole world kind of just got destroyed.
Yep.
Is that right? Yeah. See, I did that my first playthrough, and then the second playthrough, I was talking with our newest reviewer, who did a written review, Lunchbox. So definitely check out his written review. It's on NintendoFuse.com, and he was telling me, "Oh, I didn't have that because I put an object in that spot." I'm like Indiana Jones thinking, like, where'd you get that object? And sure enough, there was an object that I never
Hmm.
interacted with, and it's there, and it's a crazy, interesting battle to do that. And then and when you do that, you change the whole game. Like the whole game takes a whole different direction, and that's the kind of thing. This game, some chapters you could beat very quickly, some chapters could take you a little while, but it's, to me, it's so unique, it's so
Hmm.
different that it stands on its own. It does not try and emulate other games, in no sense. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
definitely pays homage to a lot of games with, there's a lot of Easter eggs and callbacks and references to other more mainstream games, but it definitely does things unique. Greg, what would you say was your highlight from your experience?
I really had a lot of fun with like trying to find some of the bugs. To be honest, like I like left town and then like was immediately like in like water and like was falling down
Yes.
into like a whirlpool or whatever, and like that was just like so completely absurd. Like, is that they call that a bug or whatever? But it was like just like the crazy ideas that you just like see, and I've just been like exploring the town as much as I can, and like everything just keeps getting more and more like crazy. Like, to me, that's a huge highlight, just to see like they're not playing by any of these normal like bound like rules and stuff, and like it's pretty much anything goes kind of thing, and like you can't really expect like anything to work the way it's supposed to, and it's just, I don't know, I think that's part of the fun of it. and I only played for about an hour or two, but it sounds like I really need to be buckling down more if you can beat it in like 3 hours. But like I was
You,
pretty much square, I was just like wandering that first town, like going like all the way right, all the way back to the left, all the way like go up a little
mhm.
bit, all the way to the right, all the way to the left, and like it's really cool. It's like I really try to take my time with it and explore every inch that I can.
That's so interesting. So cutting out the time where I was just frustrated and left it on the pause screen because I couldn't figure out what was going on. If you cut out that time, I actually finished it in under 2 hours.
There you go.
So
See?
yeah, so like I think that was the case. Like I was just like progressing and not knowing why I was progressing, and like all of a sudden things would just happen, and so that that was a little too sporadic for me. I was like, I don't even get to explore this one world before I'm thrown in another one, and I don't even know
But
what's
you
going
can.
on. I can, but I didn't. But I was accidentally moving from one to the next. Sometimes progressing, even not even knowing, like wanting to progress. But all of a sudden, I did something that made me move on to the next world or next level or whatever you call this, because it's not linear like you would think it
Chapters.
would be. But yeah, I think I really. I'll say this again because I love what you guys are saying. Like, I love the concept of it. I love that it doesn't hold by, it's not bound by all the the rules of other video games and stuff like that. I just don't know if it's not where it needs to be for me, but I absolutely love the concept.
It's one of those things where every chapter, like if you get through a chapter and you feel you've done everything in the chapter, you didn't. Because especially if you go to the bug list and you only see one of those spots there, and you didn't see the other, you didn't. There's quite a lot to these chapters, and they're quirky and they're unique. And if you accidentally progress, like Steve did, you can go back to the chapter and say, well, if I did A, this is what happened. So I know not to do A now. Let me go explore and see what else I could find.
Hmm.
And I think that's where I found a lot of the charm. Like I found charm my first playthrough, but I really fell in love going back. And when talking to the developer, he said that was the 100% biggest hurdle they had to deal with is getting people to go back in after they finished their first run
Well,
because
I
there's
think
so much more to the game.
yeah, and I think it's really helpful, honestly, to know that from the very beginning. Because I went into it with just standard video game playing mindset, like I want to progress to the end, I want to beat this game. That's probably not the kind of mindset you need to have going into this. And if you do, you might be disappointed like I was. But if you can free yourself from that, I could see how you could really enjoy it a lot more.
For example, the opening scroll is actually part like a chapter. It's one of the chapters in it. There's 3 ways to do the scroll. Did you guys discover all 3 ways to do the scroll?
I just let it play the whole way through.
Okay. What about you, Greg?
I found I could walk into the darkness, and then all of a sudden, like it like reloaded the same like room or whatever. Like I went to like
This
the
the
right or
opening
something.
scroll. I'm talking the openings.
Oh, that I thought you were talking about the level that came after that.
No, no,
No,
no.
I just let it play. I saw I could skip
Okay.
it, but I'm a sucker for reading the story, and
So
Which is
see,
really, really confusing, by the way.
yes,
I
it's meant that
really
way.
wanted to skip it so many times. I'm like, nope, I'm probably supposed to
So
watch this whole
so
thing.
but then
it's
I
not.
did trigger something. Like it let me like it. Then it said like, oh, your punishment is to watch the opening sequence again, and then like it started playing the story, and then I like okay, well I already read this. I hit skip, but then like the skip button was like, oh, sorry, you can't skip this, and then like like it resumed like playing like the opening. It was
Nice.
Yes.
like how crazy it is.
So to show how crazy, like I did the same thing. I let it play the first time, and that's one way to do it. The second way is to skip it and skip it, and the developer yells at you and forces you, says no, you're going to watch it again. And now there's different glitches that are happening during it. And then if you skip it a second time, he gets even more mad at you, and it reloads a third version of the scroll where even more crazy stuff happens, and there's all these new bugs that you have to get, and he's yelling at you the whole time, and it's hilarious. And that's just the opening scroll, and
Wow.
it's funny because like you said, you wanted to get through it, and it was ridiculous, and it was ridiculous on purpose to try and get people to test your patience and try and get people to skip it. And then
Yeah.
you get yelled at, and then you're forced to watch it again. It's hilarious because
Yeah.
it really is that fourth wall breaking, and it plays on these tropes. And that's
Mhm.
just the tiniest bit. I don't want to spoil anything else. That's just like
Yeah.
the tiniest little bit to know what you're getting into in this game, because it is absolutely crazy, and it is fourth wall breaking, and it is just a unique experience. That's it. You have to
Yeah.
go into it. This is a unique experience. This isn't a typical role playing game or an action game. It's more a puzzle game than anything else, really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And
And don't
collectathon.
go by that opening story. I think that's why I thought, I was like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to save this world or whatever. No, that's not the point of the game. But that's what I thought it was the whole time. But it's like, yeah, that opening scroll. What it reminded me of is I don't know if you guys know. I've heard like jokes, or I'll put it in quotes, jokes that just go on and on and on, building, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
this happens, then this happens. That's kind of what I thought of when I was like, this is getting ridiculous. Like,
But it's genius.
yeah.
It really is genius the way it
Mhm.
works. Yeah, so for those that are interested, Terrabane is available digitally on the Switch. It's also on Steam. On the Switch, it's normally $15.99. Right now, it's actually on sale, 10% off. It's $14.39. We'll go to you, Greg. Would you recommend this to people at that price, or go wait for sale, or not at all?
Um, I kind if you're saying like you can pretty much go through the entire game in just like a few hours and you just need to do a few playthroughs, it does seem it's like a little bit on the pricier side. So I would almost think like a sale would be better unless you're fine replaying like the game multiple times. Obviously, if you have the mindset that Steve was describing, just like you want to just be one and done to go through it, then I don't think this would be the game for you. But if you're one that wants to like find every single thing, then I definitely think it would probably be worth it. If and then most definitely if it was on like a sale or some kind. I think this one definitely has like an asterisk tied to it, depending on how much time you are willing to put into it.
Okay, Steve, what about you? Now that you've heard everything as well.
Right, right. I think I know, like, knowing what all went into the game and knowing how creative it is and all that stuff. I see why the $15.99 price tag. Like, this is a lot of work and a lot of effort that went into creating this whole thing. So I understand the price. But I will definitely say that I will only recommend it with the caveat of, if this sounds really interesting to you and intriguing to you, then check out this game. If this sounds annoying to you, it's going to be annoying to you, and you should stay away. But if this is like, I think I want to check this out, then trust your instinct on that. I'd say so. Because this is definitely not a game for everyone.
Yeah,
I
that's what
can
I was
agree
getting
with
at with
that.
my.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could agree with that. I think it's absolutely worth the price if you're looking for something that is completely different. If this sounds exciting to you, and you're going into the mindset of, I want to try and collect all the bugs, I'm going to go through it multiple times, because it's not terribly long to go through it, and you don't have to recollect the bugs. Let me put it out there: if you're trying to go for all the bugs, you get, let's say, 10 bugs in your first playthrough in one chapter. When you go back to that chapter, those 10 bugs, you can read them, but you don't get credit again. So the credit's already saved. So you can kind of skip them and try to find new bugs. And I like that. I like that it's not like, oh, you have to get them all in one playthrough, because it's impossible. You have to do it multiple times. So that is absolutely something to factor in. But if that's something that excites you, if that's something that really sounds up your alley, and you like fourth wall breaking, out there games, this game will completely break the fourth wall on you, because you are not actually playing Terrabane. You are playing the player playing Terrabane. And that's weird. You are playing yourself in this game, playing Terrabane, which is really, really a cool concept. I do also want to do a quick disclaimer that we were all provided codes for this review by the developer. So thank you very much, Bit9 Studios. Also want to do a quick call out to our newest member on the team, Lunchbox, who did post a written review. So please check that out at NintendoFuse.com. And I also want to say we've got a giveaway from the developers, because they were so nice. We've got a code for Terrorbane that we will be doing on Twitter, and we will be launching that on Twitter later tonight or tomorrow, whenever Steve is able to get that up. So please look forward to that, and you might be able to win yourself a copy of Terrorbane for yourself to explore and try and see how you like it. And then if you do win and you play, please let us know, because I'm curious your thoughts on the game.
Cool. All right. Yeah, and people are kind of jumping around, having different thoughts on this game, and I think that's the nature of it. It really is. It can be polarizing. People have different experiences with it, and I'm interested to see, what everybody else says about their experience too.
Yeah, I just spent so long on that first level. I guess that's where all my time went. And I think I might have skipped a chapter even, because I feel like in my next bug thing list, there was a whole thing that was not even populated, and then the one after that was like getting populated with ones I was finding. So
You might have
like,
found a skip.
Yeah, I was
yeah,
skipping all over the place. It was kind of crazy. So,
but
well,
yeah, it
let's.
was,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, it's still a great game. I would still recommend it. I just know it's not all games are for everyone, and that's what I was trying to get at with my recommendation. But yeah.
Yep. Cool. Well, let's jump into the news for this episode. And we're going to start off with some news that I've got to admit, I thought we had already heard this news when it came out. But I guess it was just the digital version or the in-person version was canceled, I guess, before. And now it's the both, like the entire thing. So E3 2022 has been officially canceled. So they're not going to try to do a digital version of this. Digital E3 is not going to happen this year for 2022. They have went on record. The ESA has released this following statement that we will devote all of our energy and resources to delivering a revitalized physical and digital E3 experience next summer. Whether enjoyed from the show floor or your favorite devices, the 2023 showcase will bring the community, media, and industry back together in an all-new format and interactive experience. We look forward to presenting E3 to fans around the world live from Los Angeles in 2023. So, first of all, I just want to get your initial thoughts, and then we can kind of discuss this a little bit further. But what are you guys thinking about this news? What was your first reaction to seeing this come out? What do you think, Barry?
I'm with you. I saw that the physical was canceled, and I was like, all right, well, at least the digital again. And I know some people are like, E3 is dead. We don't need it, blah, blah, blah. To me, I'm sad. Like, I know E3 isn't the magical thing it used to be. And that sucks. But it's still a special time for me. It's a special time for gamers, I think. And the indie developers, they feel this the most, because this is a time when all media, mainstream media as well as games media, and a lot of gamers are giving attention, and they get that attention on their game, and that's big. That is big, and they lose that, and it sucks. It really does suck for them, and I'm upset. I look forward to it. I really hope Nintendo at least does an E3 presentation or a June Direct, but and it almost feels like E3 kind of forced their hand. Like, we were going to do a June Direct, we were going to do a Treehouse, and they had to really bring it, right. Like, E3 Direct always had to be like big. It was the big who's going to win E3. Now, without that, they technically don't have to give us a June Direct when they would normally. They don't have to make it big or worry about being any type of big spectacle. They don't have to give us a Treehouse with in-depth presentations and stuff. And I think we lose. If they do give us that, that's great. But now there's no pressure. So I'm glad that the ESA is planning on coming back next year, bigger and better. I really hope they follow through with that. But who knows? 2021 could have been the last E3, and that makes me sad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Greg, what do you think?
I am pretty much same in line with Barry. I mean, it really does suck. I mean, it was a time where it was to be really excited to see what a lot of the publishers and companies are working on and various games. I mean, I know I've been primarily like Nintendo focused all these over the years, but it still kind of was nice to kind of listen to see what Microsoft and Sony were kind of up to, even though I was not going to be following any of that along. And Like was nice just to have like a one time a year where it was basically Christmas in June for us gamers. It was like, here's what's coming the rest of the year, and here's what's coming in the even the years to come for other companies. I mean, I know Nintendo is more concerned with just whatever that over the next year before the next E3 for the most part, but um, it was really nice to have all those things to look forward to. And as Barry also was saying, I really hope that Nintendo still does hold like an event. I mean, I know they pretty much have made it more of a direct over these last like 4 or 5 years. They only made it more of like a higher showing one. At least those first few years, there was a digital event where they actually had they actually called it the whatever Nintendo's digital press conference event, and they had like the different skits and all that stuff what they've done for Smash Brothers and like the different parodies of other things going on. But definitely more recently, it was just more like a upgraded Nintendo Direct, and like it'd be kind of a shame just to kind of lose that and go back into these like ghost like modes where like just like Origami King, like, oh, here's a tweet, like, oh, this game's coming, like, oh, that would have been nice to have in like a direct, like, but I don't know. I mean, it would be really great to hope they continue going that forward, but it'd be nice if they at least would give us like an announcement if they're planning on doing that. Because normally this time of year they would say like, oh, here's Nintendo's like coverage, like, oh, we'll have like the digital event or whatever at 11 a.m. like Central Time, and then we'll follow it up with Treehouse and all that other stuff. So will just be kind of an interesting few weeks to know if they're going to be doing anything or not, if they'll have been announcing anything at this point either.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't really actually think about it until you guys mentioned it. You know, what is the direct impact on Nintendo? I just assumed that they would go forward, and that's a totally, you know, empty assumption. I have no reason to believe that they would continue to go forward with having their, you know, E3 presentation. In fact, I think, you know, I kind of tend to agree with what you guys are saying. I don't know why they would necessarily, unless they just want to honor, you know, the gamers. From a company standpoint, you know, it's probably freeing for them to go, hey, we don't have to abide by this schedule anymore. Like, we can do this when we're ready, and that's it. And so I guess in a way that could be good, but I'm thinking, you know, we don't get anything at all this year, like you guys are saying, is probably what's going to happen, and then it's going to be spread out. We'll have a couple Nintendo Directs when they're ready to release them, then that's it.
I'm going to say, while they don't have to, I still think they're going to, and I think the reason is that they planned on it. So the plan was already in place to do it. Like, I have a feeling Nintendo has figured out their directs, because remember, like Greg was talking about, where we didn't even have directs. I think they figured it out to 3 times a year. You have the early January, February, March direct. You have the June direct for E3, and then you have like the September, October direct at the end of the year, and maybe some little ones in between. And that seems to work. I mean, I would prefer them more frequently, but you know, 3 45-minute directs filled to the brim with some great stuff. That's awesome. Plus the other stuff on the side. So I think they are still planning, because it's not like it's all right, good, it's canceled, now we don't have to do that. They might not be as big with the Treehouse. Maybe they won't do the Treehouse. They'll cancel the Treehouse. But I do think they're still going to give a June direct, because the last direct we had was only spring, right? I mean, they had some stuff for the end of the year, like Xenoblade 2, but the whole focus was spring. And the reason it was spring is because they were planning for a summer direct, which would be E3. So I still think we will get one this year. But if E3 leaves the schedule, there's nothing saying Nintendo has to keep up with that schedule. Hopefully they do, but there's nothing saying they won't.
Yeah, Jeff Keighley might push for it, so
maybe.
There's some hope there, I guess. Going to the chat real quick. Jakester says not surprised that if it was a digital event, would have been as bad as last year. Hiawatha says the best part of the news is that they canceled in order to focus on bringing it back next year. Expect it to be really big next year. And also, Gyro Tiger says it's a big blow to the smaller developers and publishers, but hoping for the big 3 to release more frequent showcases to compensate for some of the lost publicity. That is another thing to think about. This is going to have an impact on the developers and publishers as well. That's huge. So I'd love to think, like, just of course speculating here. We have no idea what's going on, but if they are coming back in 2023, I'll be honest, before we jump into this, like, it shocks me that they weren't ready for 2022 because we didn't have a standard, E3 in 2020 or 2021. So why couldn't they be ready for something in 2022, I guess? I don't know why it's taking 3 years for them to come back. They've had some time to prep. Now, granted, they haven't been back in the office, I guess, together the whole time, but people have figured out how to continue your business moving forward at this point of the pandemic, even if you can't be in person all the time. So, like, I don't know. And like, why they have to put this off, and which only makes me speculate a little bit in a negative way, I guess, and be skeptical if they actually are going to be coming back in 2023. I know they hope to, they want to, but could this be the end of E3 altogether? Because I don't know, like, we've talked about a lot of different ways that they could make events like this great, doing the digital and the physical and together and all roped in together. But if they haven't figured it out yet, like, I don't know, is it going to come back, and are people even going to care at that point? Because it's been 3 years. I don't know. What do you think, Barry?
I think that's a good point. I'd like to think that people will care, and I think the majority of people who will care will be us, the older gamers. Because the newer gamers, let's say they're 10 now, they started gaming maybe when they were 6, 5, 4. They really weren't paying attention to E3 in those ages. And the last 3 years, they had 2021 as an online only. Maybe they tuned in for it, but it wasn't anything for them. It wasn't like a ritual, a custom. Versus those of us that have been watching or at least reading about E3 in magazines since '95. I remember like the EGM articles or the Game Informer when that came out, and it was just like page after page of what you saw because there was no internet. And then, of course, once it started getting broadcast, it was a big deal, and it became a cultural thing. It was on TV. Spike used to show it on TV. USA Today would write articles and talk about video games. It was like, this is a big thing. So for 20 something years, we all grew up with E3 as this is it. For the newest generation, they don't have those magic moments. They don't have those meme moments. They don't have the nostalgia. Even if they go back and watch some of the best moments of E3 in the past, there's no nostalgia there. So that's the biggest sell. If they can get it back into the minds of the youngest generation of gamers, then I think they're fine. If they can't capture that audience, then E3 will be dead, because while we'll still love it, we're as much as we hate to admit it, we're starting to leave their target demographic.
Yeah.
I mean, most games are, the target demographic is say 13 to 30 or 13 to 40, and it's like we're leaving that demographic here soon. And then we'll still be avid gamers, of course, and there's plenty of avid gamers that are post 40, but they don't give a crap because we're not making up the majority at that point. And that's the sad thing.
Yeah, that's true. Greg or Barry, you're making me feel old. But so is Jakester in there saying, Jakester's saying his first E3 was 2015. And I'm thinking, well, that was just the other day. Oh gosh, that was 7 years ago. Wow.
I remember 95 reading about it. What are you talking about?
Greg, do you remember off the top of your head which E3 did we go to together? Was that?
It was either 2013 or 14, whatever. Okay. It was like Smash Bros for Wii U's like main highlight.
Yeah, that was
because it was like when it was like when Mega Man was announced, and it was when Wii Fit Trainer was announced, because we were on the show floor when they showed the Wii Fit Trainer video.
Was that their first time not doing an actual presentation? I think
it might have been, yeah.
Because we were so confused.
I think you were telling me all about it.
Yeah. Because I went there with Mimiki a couple years. I think I did one myself and maybe one or two with Mickey, and it was still traditional, thing. And I was there when they, did the whole Wii U announcent and all that
Oh God.
fun, Nintendo Land stuff and all that other junk that happened. But I was also there when they announced the 3DS, and that was really cool to play in person for the first time and be amazed and everything by that. But yeah, I remember like Greg's like, so what's going on? I was like, I actually, even though I've been here several times, I have no idea because they're not doing it the traditional way. So I have no clue what to expect.
And that was so like bug laden with
Oh
the
gosh.
latency on that stream. It was terrible
It was,
that year.
and then our hotel internet was awful too. So we thought Super Mario 3D World was a 3DS game because it looked so like pixelated on my phone that I was trying to watch the presentation on. It was bad.
Yeah.
So anyhow, Greg, what do you think about all this? Like, are they actually going to be able to come back? Are they going to be able to put something together that will make people excited about E3 again?
I mean, it's really hard to say. I mean, I know like that costs like tons of money to like hold these events, and like obviously there's like the big like health scares and stuff because there's obviously people coming in from even other countries along with all across like the United States of all the different journalists and everybody that travels to the show. So I understand it's a pretty big like world exposure thing, and obviously anything that's like the pandemic, you don't want to be sending it like to any parts of the world where these people are from either. But like it also is a ton of money just to like reserve the event and have like it's a huge tourist hit with everyone coming in town and visiting and everything. So I do understand that, and like a lot of things especially with like COVID is now more been like digital. So it would be nice if they could at least keep like a E3 digital thing kind of going forward for companies to do it, at least for us gamers, for to have like news and at least like an outlet just to kind of tune in. I still think that's like kind of like the best thing you could kind of hope for these days. I don't know about a return to a conference center. They might realize that it's maybe not worth all that time and planning to pursue going down the road. I don't know. I would really hate to see that because it's great to be able to build connections with like other people and seeing other people and all that kind of fun stuff. Like it was incredible to hear Charles Martinet talk as Mario when me and you were there, Steve. Like that's like an awesome memory that like it's really cool to be able to like, oh, there's the completionist over there and there's so and so from this channel over there. It's like that's a great way to make connections, and that's a lot how like studios can have like meetings together to get like games planned out, and like like people can ask Nintendo, oh, can I use Star Fox IP in this game? And then like a lot of those meetings happen because of stuff at like E3, just because everybody's all together and it's a lot easier to plan around that. So
Yeah.
obviously that's a huge downside if they're not going through with that in the future. So I do understand that the digital part is at least the easiest to maintain, because then it's like they can still show to have different time slots for whatever Nintendo to air their video and different for Sony and Microsoft to air theirs, and EA and Square Enix and everything else like that. But I think there should be a lot lost by not having like the in-person meetings and chances to talk with fellow developers and players and gamers alike. So
Yeah.
obviously I don't want it to go away, but I understand like it could be just a cost thing that might not be worth to hold on to.
Yeah. Yeah. At this point, I would say it has to be like 2023 or nothing at all. Like I couldn't see it going one more year without having anything and then it actually have any sort of life unless they're completely redoing it, rebranding, new push with a brand new thing. But to let it go that long, like it's got to be big, because I think that's the thing what you were saying, Greg, was like it couldn't be that difficult to put a schedule together, collect all the trailers, collect all the videos, and push them out and publish them at the right time. Like a simple online strategy couldn't be that difficult. And at the same time, like booking the venue, having it all in person is not that difficult to pull off either. It's more money, but it's not difficult to pull that off because it's easy. You make appointments in person, everything just happens. But if they are strategizing around trying to do something that incorporates both physical and digital into something brand new, maybe they do need 3 years to put their ideas together and be able to pull this off like really, really well. So like, I guess I'm just saying it better be really, really good in 2023. Because if it's not, I could see it also dying that way. If they don't capture that younger audience like Barry's talking about as well, if it doesn't really go off like crazy good, it could die after 2023 as well.
Absolutely.
Well, one thing that has been happening, even in the middle of all this, is another expo is just plugging away and continuing the whole digital thing. So, Barry, tell us about this other event that just happened on March 31st.
Yeah, so people talking in the chat around Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest and all that stuff. We saw in 2020 when E3 was canceled, a lot of other showcases came about. Though there was the wonderful Direct and the Summer Game Fest, and one of them was the NGBX New Games Plus Expo, which started in 2020. They came back in 2021, and they're back again in 2022, and it just happened March 31st, and there was a ton of games that were shown off. Including like 16 games for the Switch, and we're just going to go through the Switch games, but there were other games shown off for other systems. You got Kamiwaza Way of the Thief, which comes to the Switch in fall 2022. You have Underworld Dreams, which is coming to the Switch in spring 2022. Unsold is in spring 2022. Dust Diver 2 is coming in 2022. That actually has an Asian English release right now, but it will be coming here to the States. Samurai Bringer is coming April 21st, 2022. One I'm super excited about is Your Striker Gunvolt 3 is coming on July 28th, 2022. Amnesia Memories and Amnesia Later Cross Crowd, 2 games, are coming in summer 2022. Virashana is later this year. Phantom Breaker Omnia is now available. The Courier comes in 2022. Horihu and Friends is on June 16th of this year. Skull, the Hero Slayer, is available now, and the physical is also available. Jack Jean is spring 2023. It's next year. Pocky and Rocky Reshrined, brand new Pocky and Rocky game, is coming June 24th of this year. The Last Friend comes on April 21st of this year with a demo available now. And they capped it all off with Prinny Presents NIS Classics Volume 3. Volume 2 is not even out yet, and Volume 3 was announced, which is La Pucelle Ragnarok and Rhapsody, a Musical Adventure, and that's coming this summer, which is a huge, huge group of games. Many of these are niche Japanese studios, but big ones that, bigger for this category. NIS America, Axis, Way Forward, stuff like that. Like really, great studios that are just doing some really fantastic things, and there've been big support. And after the showcase, there was they streamed, each studio had different segments where they showed off some stuff. What about you guys? Did you guys get a chance to watch this? Any of these games stand out to you and go, oh yeah, you know what, that is definitely something I'm interested in giving a shot?
I'll let you go for it, Greg.
I actually didn't get a chance to complete watching it, but a few of the ones that I did look at, like I think it was the Courier and like the Samurai Bringer were two of the big ones that looked the most interesting to me. I'm trying to get caught up on the last few that were coming to Switch, but there were some other ones that looked like they were a lot of fun that weren't in that list, unfortunately. But so
they might come later on.
Yeah, there's always that hope. So, I mean, there's a number of these like did look pretty interesting, but I'm not like into like the high speed one, like the one that's playing right now. Like that was one that seemed kind of interesting at first, but then I have discovered I don't really like the super fast paced like action type games as much as like some of the other ones. So like while a lot of those movements and everything look really cool and fun to play, I just don't think that is like particularly like the game for me directly. But a lot of these games look really cool, and definitely really excited to check some more out as they come out over the next few months here.
Nice. Yeah, I'd say overall I wasn't a huge fan of what I saw. I think it was good stuff, but it didn't like strike me as like I didn't have like this huge list of games at the end that I want to play personally. So I want to make sure that I say that correctly, that it wasn't like a bunch of crap games. It was just things that didn't
Yeah.
stand out to me personally. Of course, Azure Drunk Striker, I can't say that either. That's perfect English. Azure
Striker
Striker
Gunvolt.
Gunvolt 3 looks great. I think that was definitely the standout for me. Those games are just fantastic. They look great. They play great, and this next one looks even better than the others. It was action packed. I think it was fun. Just even the trailer they played, it was just like jumped right into the action, told a little backstory, and just bam right into it. So that was fun. Other games that I thought was just interesting. Underworld Dreams sounds interesting, but it looks like the graphics. I know they're trying to pull off like a 1980s feel, but it looks like it was made for the GameCube, and it looks like something that would give me like motion sickness. Like if I played it very long, like I love the concept. It's fun. It's like horror kind of based FPS. But yeah, I think I would just get sick by playing it. And then the Courier did look good. Greg, I know you mentioned that one. That one, it's like these cutesy graphics and like clay-like characters and stuff. That seemed really fun. Seemed like it'd also be like a relaxing adventure. And so, like, every once in a while, you need kind of one of those that you can just kind of sit back and you don't have to feel like, you have a certain time you have to finish this right away. So that was kind of fun. So I might be interested in that. Let's see. Skull also looked cool. I know it's out already, which is cool. Everything looks great. It looks like a Shovel Knight game, it's fantastic. Like if you can give me that, but like all these different characters and how they're working, all that seems great. And then they said it was a roguelite. And they lost me on that one. So, like, I love the concept of roguelites, but after I start playing them, I do not like them. I love how we can have these games that are like different every time you play them, but if you don't progress, because they're usually also super difficult, and if you can't progress, then all of a sudden you either lose your progress or you still have your progress, but the world changes completely, or you have to it's like a brand new game every time. So that sounds great, but in theory, but in practicality, I'm not a big fan of it. So those are the ones that kind of stood out to me for one way or the other.
I don't blame you there. I'm hit or miss with roguelikes. Like there are some that I really do enjoy, and then there are some that just they never grip me. So I was the same way with you with that one. Like I remember watching it, and I'm like, oh, this looks good, and then they said roguelike, and I'm like, I don't know. Like I'd have to see. I like the roguelikes where there's a lot of carryover. Like there's no punishment to death other than that the world changes, but you get all like the experience, and then you can power up and get stronger. Then I'm cool when it's like, oh well, you lose all your items and all this other stuff, and you only get to keep things if you do X or Y, and those changes stay. Like Dead Cells, a lot of people love Dead Cells. Like that was the way Dead Cells worked, and I just did not get into Dead Cells at all. I tried so hard, which is a shame because I know some people really, really love Dead Cells. Um, to me, that was just one of those things that it did not get me. So roguelike is a hit or miss. For me, obviously, Azure Striker Gunvolt 3. Um, those are, I mean, I'm a huge Mega Man fan, a huge Mega Man X fan. And this is for those that don't know, this is the same team that did Mega Man 0, 1 to 4. They did Mega Man ZX and ZX Advent. This is where they went after ZX Advent because Capcom didn't want to do Mega Man, so they made their own Mega Man, and this is what they're doing. So if you enjoyed those games, this is Mega Man X with unique, really cool, mechanics. The same kind of thing, bosses where you get, different abilities. And it's really interesting as the series is so popular and so well done that it split off. There's the Luminous Avenger series as well, which is a split in Azure Gunvolt Striker 2, and you really should play it. I mean, there's just really excellent games if you enjoy that. The Courier also, definitely looked good. Skull looked, a lot of fun. I've heard good things about Skull, and it's one of those that I got the physical in. Dust Diver 2. I never played the first one, but I heard good things, so I was excited to see it come back. Pocky and Rocky Reshrined. Pocky and Rocky is just a classic Super Nintendo, and it did have like a spiritual sequel on the Wii and the PS2, I believe it was, Guardian Heroes it was called. It was
Oh.
supposed to be Pocky and Rocky, and they lost, like, didn't have the rights to it, so they had to just change the name, but it's like a spiritual sequel. And now it's great to see a brand new Pocky and Rocky in. And I love that. And the Prinny Presents, these two are Greg's alley. These are strategy role playing games. Again, I'm not big into SRPGs like I used to be. But what's cool is that one of these titles never came to the West. It was, before Disgaea. It was only in Japan. So this is coming to the West for the first time. And I love what NIS is doing with these Prinny, because they're taking PS2 era, PS1 era games, and they're bringing them back on the Switch because they're much harder to play, and they're giving you 2-packs, and they're updating them and stuff. And really, if you like SRPGs, Greg, I mean, you really should not be sleeping
Yeah,
on these games, because they're like perfect for you. And if you never played this guy, like, they're crazy. They're the type of games that you could put in hundreds and hundreds of hours if you want to, and do insane damage, and just have a lot of fun. But there's a reason that series is still going on, and these two games are the precursor to the Disgaea series. They came out first, and it's really interesting to see them again come out. And again, this is the third time they're doing it. The first volume is out. The second volume comes out here shortly, and they're successful. And as long as they're successful, let's let it keep going. And I want to see more studios do that. The Switch is a perfect system to bring back classic games and make them more accessible. And I will always applaud any single company that does that. So those are pretty much my highlights. A lot of the other ones are cool, and I would play them if I had the opportunity, but there are a lot of niche titles, but it's great that there's a place for niche titles too, because not everybody needs mainstream titles.
Yeah.
Yep.
When we were talking about the team that went for Mega Man, like
Yeah.
it just
Inti
reminded me
Creates.
all of a sudden of the Mighty Number 9. Is that right? Mighty Number 9 that didn't turn
Yeah,
out
that's a
too
different
well.
team.
Like a different team. It's so interesting. Like, one team went over here and kind of failed, but the other team like has
Well,
had like pretty big
Mighty
success
Number
this direction.
9's team was Kenji Inafune. When he left Capcom, he created his own team to do that. And that was the spiritual successor to Mega Man from the father of Mega Man, and it didn't do well. This is a studio that actually worked on Mega Man, well, one of the Mega Man, two of the Mega Man series, Zero and ZX. Then they couldn't, Capcom didn't want to say, yeah, do another Mega Man. So they're like, all right, well, we'll do our own Mega Man. And it's weird as that is, but it's really cool to see them do that, because they knew what they were doing. And Inti Creates is a great studio. They do some really fantastic stuff. Blaster Master Zero, like, they're very, very talented. So I will always support them. I really like that they're here doing this, and they have a showcase to do it, and they put it on, because they're a small studio. And here we are, just with the first Gunvolt. I don't know if you remember when the first Gunvolt came out. It was one of the few digital games I bought. It was on the 3DS. It was a 3DS exclusive title. They did it where if you purchased it, you also got Mighty Gunvolt as a free bonus, which was like an 8-bit one, and that had a crossover with Beck from Mighty Number 9.
It did.
Yep, that's why it was called Mighty Gunvolt, because it was Beck with Gunvolt, and it was a 3DS exclusive title. And I bought it, and it was a lot of fun. And the sequel was 3DS exclusive, and they did a 2-pack physically. And I didn't get to play the second one that way. And then they brought it to Switch and PS4, and now they're still continuing the series. But they had no idea. It was a shot in the dark on the 3DS, no less, as its only system. And sure enough, it's still going. So again, if you haven't played them, they're on the Switch. Highly recommend for sure.
Yeah, they're great for sure.
It does. I didn't even realize that those were like Mega Man-esque games. I've been missing out on that series.
Oh
apparently.
yeah.
And
yeah, they're good.
Yeah, they're mega. They're
the very classic games, and like the first X game. That I love those games. I replay them like so many times, and here I am not even knowing that the original people, some of the original people behind those, are off doing create their own series of games.
Yeah.
Now you got at least 3 games to go play after this.
Well, more than that,
Well,
because Luminous Avenger
that's true, I
9,
guess.
the 1 and 2 is there. Because you remember the Zero games were on the GBA, and then the collection on the DS, and the ZX was on the DS. So they knew the portable. That's why they went with Azure Gunvolt on the 3DS, because they had done the portable. So if you've never played the Zero or the ZX games, they're also on the Switch in the collection. They're fantastic, fantastic Mega Man games. Very, very underrated in my opinion.
Yeah, I've actually never played those Mega Man ones. I've always stuck with the
Oh,
classic Blue Bomber ones that are actually just called Mega Man 1 through 6.
oh
Or I
man,
guess
see?
I think it's technically 11 now or whatever it is, but
Yeah,
um,
11.
Yep.
and then I did Mega Man X and Mega Man X2 and 3, I think, is before I gave up on that X series, but I didn't dive into any other of the Mega Man games, like not like ZX or Legends, or I never dove into any of those other Mega Man spin-off games.
Oh man, yeah, you can get the Zero ZX collection on Switch. It's all 6 games from that studio, and then you got a Zero Striker, Gunvolt. The 2-pack has 1 and 2, and Luminous Avenger, and they're all digital as well too. If that's how you want to go, of course.
Yeah.
But they all have physical releases too.
Barry, I know that there's a lot of visual novels. There are like 2 or 3 that were shown off on this. Did any of those stand out? Because like me and Greg are not big fans of those. So like any of them that people should be paying attention to?
So for me, those aren't the type of visual novels I enjoy. Those are, I think they're called, well, I forget what the exact terminology is. It's like okaku or taku or something like that. I forget what it's called. They're more like visual novels that are specifically done for dating. So like the whole purpose of it is you're like kind of, you're gonna have a story with this character, and romance is the primary thing. It's not like always like a fantasy world or a sci-fi story. It's more, set in it could be like feudal Japan, it could be set in modern day, and it's more about the romance. And sometimes there could be some cool things with, like, maybe one of them that I did try was Collar X Malice, that involved like police and crime, and there was a killer, and some more graphic stuff. But it's still, at the end of the day, like, romance was the big thing. And I don't mind romance in games, the games like Harvest Moon, and like, and Moon Factory, and that's fine. Let there be romance kind of deal. But I don't want it to be the focus of the game. So for me personally, those weren't the type of visual novels that I love. For other people, they are, and I welcome them. I'm glad they're there. I think that everyone has an audience, and everyone has a taste. And if you like that, then go for it. For me, I like the different types of visual novels that really tell something unique. Zero Escape, Danganronpa, Steins Gate, Life is Strange, in a sense, is like a visual novel. Raging Loop is one that I just absolutely fell in love with. Stuff like that. You'll get me. You'll get me for sure.
Nice. Going to the chat real quick before we wrap this up. Looks like Lunchbox is really excited about Pocky and Rocky, and Jakester didn't watch the show, but looks the classics, NIS classics, looks interesting, and he's a big fan of the romance visual novels.
See, there's an audience for everything, and there's nothing wrong. So he might absolutely enjoy those ones that were shown off. Axis does a lot of them. Like the probably the majority of their catalog is romance visual novels. So if that's your cup of tea, Axis is the way to go. And they do a lot of physicals too. They do a lot of physical collector's editions for themselves, and like they make a lot of money on it. They have an audience.
Yep. And
Gyro Tiger gets added.
Yep. She says that Dust Diver 3, Prinny Volume 3, Amnesia, Birushana, all in the showcase that caught his eye. So cool. Well, that kind of brings us to the end of our conversation around this. If you did miss the presentation itself, you can check it out on New Game Game Plus Expo's website. But we're going to be putting up just a cut down version if you're only interested in the titles that were announced for Nintendo. That'd be going live on NintendoFuse on Nintendo on YouTube really soon. So make sure you check that out as well. But let's move into some headlines before we kind of look forward to the future and all that stuff. There's a couple different news stories that were happening this last couple weeks. So Greg, kick us off with this first one.
All right, so basically the day after our last podcast, which has been known to predict upcoming Nintendo news, we were greeted with the unfortunate news that the sequel to Breath of the Wild is being delayed. So I think it was originally scheduled for holiday this year, and now it's now set for spring of next year. So anyone that was really super interested in following and playing the sequel, they'll have to wait a little bit longer as they will need some more time to put some polish and everything. One thing to really note that I saw on Twitter is that even though the game is delayed, they've been still pretty good with releasing Zelda content like each year. So like since like Breath of the Wild, we've still gotten like the Age of Calamity and the Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition and like Link's Awakening and stuff like that. So we still might get a Zelda title this year, but it's not going to be Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah. And then for those of you that are big fans of Lego Mario collection and everything, we're going to have a new character jumping in. Lego Peach is going to be joining very, very soon. In fact, sometime this year. They haven't said exactly when, but you can get your Lego Peach and add to your Super Mario Lego collection and play with Peach later on this year, joining Luigi and Yoshi in there, as well as of Mario, of course. So if you're a big fan of Lego Mario, get ready for Peach and Cat Peach as well.
And if you're a big fan of wrestling and big fan of Pokemon cards, you probably know the name Logan Paul, most famous for buying a bunch of sealed Generation 1 Pokemon cards and just getting G.I. Joe for millions of dollars. Pretty hilarious and pretty sad. He decided to one-up his game by purchasing a grade 10, PSA grade 10 Pikachu Illustrator card for a whopping $5.275 million, which breaks the record for the most expensive Pokemon trading card game sold in a private sale. And he decided to wear it around his neck at WrestleMania 38 as he was debuted as a World Wrestling Entertainment professional wrestler. Because why not? I like to wear $5.2 million jewelry all the time.
When we said this story, I was like, this is just ridiculous.
There is another thing, actually.
What's that?
There was a new headline just came out, actually, just showed up. So I did want to add it really quickly.
Sure.
Because this is kind of interesting. Apparently, there is a building in Japan that Nintendo has just acquired in Kyoto City. And the point of this is that Nintendo bought this to be a new R&D center. It's going to be titled Corporate Headquarters Development Center Building Number 2. And the purpose of it is to utilize the land to carry out an important role in reinforcing its R&D department. And planned completion date is going to be December 2027. So not anytime soon, but it's 12 floors, approximately 38,000 square feet. And they bought it for like 5 billion yen. So they are literally, instead of buying studios, they are buying property to house R&D and maybe next Switch or the Switch after that, or new development teams, or who knows what. But it's pretty interesting. Microsoft and Sony are off buying studios, and Nintendo's off buying property for in-house development.
Yeah, that's true. They just keep getting bigger and bigger, and good for them. Good for them. They just, it's better for us. So good for them. Nice. Well, yeah, let's quickly, just before we jump into what's coming up next, what do you guys think about the stories we just talked about? Barry, you can go first.
Yeah, so the Breath of the Wild 2 delay is expected. And in fact, in the prediction video, I predicted that it would not come out this year. So I'm sorry, I didn't want to be right, but it's been a while since I've actually been right on a prediction, so it's kind of interesting. Like Greg mentioned, Nintendo has made a commitment to do one Zelda a year, so maybe this is the year we finally get Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess HD from the Wii U. As we had a delay, let's throw these out there. Look, new Zelda for this year. Why not? So yes, I do predict we're finally going to get those now. That we're at least one of them. Knowing Nintendo, they might spread it out,
Four
but
Swords
hopefully we
Adventure.
get them both. Oh, I would
Well,
love Four
Skyward
Swords
Sword's
and
already out. I think you were talking Wind Waker or Twilight
Wind Waker.
Princess.
I mean,
Skyward
yeah,
Sword's
right, Wind
already
Waker.
started. Yeah.
Hmm.
You're right. I meant Wind Waker. Yeah, I'd like to see them finally come over, for sure. As for the Lego Peach, I'm just glad that I didn't jump in to the Lego sets because like the collector in me wanted to so badly. And then when Hassan came and showed us the whole set, it looked so great, and all I could think of is I don't have the room for that. So I'm so glad I didn't jump in because I would still be buying this stuff. So I think it's great that Nintendo is still expanding. I would like to see them do more adult oriented sets. Like there was the mock up like Hyrule Castle.
Mm-hmm.
That I might have to buy.
Mm-hmm.
But with with the Mario sets being more geared towards kids, until I have kids. And then when I have kids, it'll be like, all right, I guess there's an excuse to go buy them now. Don't know where I'll put them, but at least we'll play. But I'm fine with this. I think it's great. Let them expand. Now girls, girl figures are always a tough sell. So hopefully Peach does well, and little girls, can play as Peach and put her on some adventures. I mean, it's been a while since she's been on a solo adventure since Super Princess Peach, so let her do that. Logan Paul's just ridiculous. I have no interest in him. I think it's a ridiculous story. He's got more money than he deserves to have, and he's just doing all this for publicity. And all it does is it screws up the market because people think, oh, I got a Pokemon card. What's this fire energy? This must be worth at least $3,000. And that's where the market just goes crazy, like the retro game market. And I've been saying I want Nintendo to buy some studios. I still want them to do that, but I'm glad they're putting a lot of money into R&D. That tells me they've got some big plans in the future of things they want to do, that they need a whole 12-story building to do, or 12-floor building to do. So,
Yep. Jakester said the Lego Peach looks super creepy. I totally agree. It's she kind of looks creepy, but cool that she's coming out, I guess. But yeah, super creepy. I really want the Lego, like the actual Lego sets to Barry. That'd be so awesome to build my Hyrule Castle or Peach's Castle or any of that. Just like give me the actual Lego sets. That would be awesome. I will find room for it, for sure. Greg, what do you think about all this?
Well, yeah, I mean, at least piggybacking on the Lego discussion, like I'm with you guys. I'd much rather have like a big castle set, like as the bigger collection sets. Those are definitely more up my alley personally. Having just like a few of the ones, I've noticed I haven't really played with them a lot with my daughter, so they're kind of just sitting around in their box, and I think it's a great idea, but I'm not always one to like want to like deconstruct Lego stuff and like put them back together. And I think that's a lot more what these course elements are meant for. And that's kind of like that different mindset thing that we talked about with the games and stuff. I'm more like, I like to just prefer to build it and then just leave it built and not just be like, oh, let's change up the course and try to make like a new high score thing, like how it's intended.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't quite realize that was part of it, like when they were selling it. And so yeah, so I just probably won't be diving further into getting Peach, as it's not really worth the investment. I do agree that she does look kind of creepy. I always thought the Mario looked kind of creepy as well, but I guess
true.
that's just how they translate to Lego form, I guess.
It's true.
Or how they made it.
I'm gonna jump in because I think you made a good point. It just hit me. Like did you guys ever play the classic board game Mousetrap?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Did you ever actually play Mousetrap, or did you just set it up, run the whole thing, and then put it back away? Because that's all I did. I never actually played the game. It's a
I
very,
played the
very
game.
set it up and played it.
You
Yeah.
set it up and played it? Okay. Most people I knew, I actually just set it up, ran it through, and that was it. I was like, we never bothered to like learn how to play the game. That kind of made me feel like the Mario Lego set. It's like you put it together and you do your thing, but like, what's the need to go back because you have to reset it up and do different things and that sort of thing. I guess I don't know, but carry on.
Yeah, and obviously, as I was saying, the Breath of the Wild story was it kind of sucks. It's delayed, but I mean, they always say like once you release the game and it's not polished, then it can't be a great game. So I'm all for a better game, and who knows, maybe it might pop out with the Switch 2 success or the Switch successor at the same time. Who knows, or the actual Pro version or whatever you want to call it too. But
That was my prediction.
Yeah, that's totally what's going to happen.
Who really knows, like with Nintendo these days with their console releases. I mean, the 3DS launched in March, the Switch launched in March. I mean, these are big selling consoles that are not at the holiday time too. So
Sure. Maybe they'll
only time
announce
will
it at
tell on that.
E3 this year. Oh, wait, never mind.
No,
it'll be in October when they like have like Mario just hiding behind a little curtain. Yeah, and the Logan Paul thing, I don't really follow wrestling and or really played with the Pokemon cards, but yeah, it just sounds like it's one of those auction house kind of things. Like,
yeah,
let's just increase the price of retro stuff and make everybody else suffer. And as Barry was saying with like the game, it's like that stuff just kind of sucks.
Yeah. Well, if you have not joined us on social media, I want to encourage you guys to do that at NintendoFuse on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And also, you can join us in Discord. The link is on the screen, but also in the show notes, the YouTube description. We love talking with all of you in between episodes, so make sure you join our Discord and say hello and let us know what you've been playing, all that stuff. If you don't have Discord, that's okay. You can also let us know in the comments right here on YouTube or hit us up on social media, all those different ways. We love talking with you and hearing what you're playing, hearing what you're thinking about all these different news stories and everything. Whether you're able to join us in the live chat during these recordings or not, we still love hearing from you as well. So make sure you do that. But before we wrap up this episode, we need to talk about what's happening very, very soon. Our next episode is going to be on April 25th. So in 2 weeks from today, we're going to be recording the next episode. It's April 11th today. So April 25th, we'll be recording our next one and giving away that free code for Terrabane on that episode as well. But before that happens, there's going to be some games coming out. And thanks, of course, to Metacritic website as well for giving us a list because Nintendo changed their website up. But there's a few games coming up over the next couple weeks. 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim is coming out on the 12th, so just tomorrow as we're recording this. Rotund Rebound is coming out on April 14th. We've talked about that one previously. I think it was on maybe Indie Showcase or something like that before as well. It kind of seemed interesting. A remake of Star Wars The Force Unleashed is coming out on April 20th. And, Cat Cafe Manager is also coming out on April 14th. So something out there for everybody. Barry, what are you looking forward to playing over the next couple weeks?
I'm most likely going to be sticking with both Horizon Forbidden West and Final Fantasy XIV's newest patch 6.1 as my primary stuff. But for those of you that are looking for something new this week, for the games that are coming out, 13 Sentinels is fantastic, and definitely worth giving a shot to. And I would be doing that one had I not done it last year on the PS4.
Nice.
And it was in the Game of the Year awards for me for PS4. So yeah, that is definitely something I highly recommend.
Cool. Lunchbox in the chat says Nobody Saves the World is amazing. It looks interesting. It was one of those that I hadn't heard about, so I need to look into it. But if he says it's amazing, I will be checking it out for sure. Greg, what are you gonna be playing?
It'll probably be more just backlog catching up this time. It's been fun just jumping back into some of the older titles there. Not a lot of the stuff has been catching like my eye, at least so far. I did want to try to do more in Terrabane, and also like um, finally start up like 3 houses again. So there's just too many games to play, kind of thing, and just gotta stick with what I have for the time being, at least for till the next podcast, anyways.
Nice. Yeah, I might actually get some time in with Life is Strange 2 before next podcast. So we'll see. Like I said earlier, I'm trying to find a good chunk of time where I can really dedicate to it. And then of course I'll be playing Rocket League and other stuff too. But yeah. I need to look into. I might be playing. This is kind of looking forward to the next week. I have a couple trips that I'm gonna be flying in the next month, and so a little more time on the road. So I'll be actually needing some handheld games, and that might be finally the time where I finally open up Robot Name Fight when I'm flying. So looking forward to that, because you guys have been telling me about it for a while. So like finally, I might be the time I play that.
It is roguelike, but you got to play it like Super Metroid, and if you die, you go back again. It's a new Super Metroid. It's so much fun.
Cool. I know. I'm kind of hesitant, but I've heard a lot of praise about it, so I'm gonna try it out eventually. And I got it when it was like $2 or something like that on sale, so like the digital version. So I was like, might as well try it out. Heard a lot of good things about it.
Yeah, I think I had gotten like a super sale of that, and I still have to play a Robot Named Fight as well. And
we get
shortly after
all the time.
I know it's the Midwest Gaming Classic is just a little bit after the next podcast, so hopefully I can get some time in for Robot before the next podcast as well. So
nice.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Let's look at the chat. Assumes like Jake's going to be finishing Monster Hunter Stories 2 tomorrow, and then go back to Fire Emblem, and then either going to go back to Minish Cap or starting a new game. Jara Tiger, 13 Sentinels, and Tunia Cross Sinran Kagura. Man, Gyro Tiger, you gotta stop picking these names that I can't pronounce. I am so grateful you're in the chat right now, but pick some things that I can pronounce. Give me some mercy, man. It's yeah. So yeah, be sure to definitely let us know what you guys are going to be playing, even after the fact. We love hearing about that, and Discord and everything as well. Barry, what's going on in your world over the next couple weeks, other than the game stuff, or maybe attached to the game stuff, but just beyond
maybe
that?
Attached.
Yeah.
So one of the things is, for all you that are interested in Terrabane, we do have an industry talk going live. I believe next week it is, Steve. Which is really cool because I got to sit down with the story writer for Terrabane, who also plays the developer and voices the developer. So it was really, really cool interview, because especially if you play the game and then to get to hear him talk like speaking normal voice and normal sentences as opposed to developer commentary. Really, really cool. Ton of fun. So definitely check that out. Had a lot of fun doing that, and always a pleasure to sit down with developers. And then we have a lot of stuff going on in premium right now. It's ridiculously busy. So while we won't have anything to show between this podcast and next, the same won't be true for the next podcast in between. So that's a little hint. Definitely be some cool stuff going on with that, and doing stuff every day to try and do some really cool stuff for everybody. So hopefully you all enjoy what we have to show off when we do show some stuff off, but it's been busy.
Greg, what's going on in your world over the next couple weeks?
It's pretty much about the same old for me. I'm still picking up speed on premium and helping out where I can, and as Barry pretty much give you the update on that front. And I did say I was going to the Midwest Gaming Classic, so if you're going to be up in Milwaukee at the last weekend of April, you can hit me up, and hopefully you can connect and do all those sorts of fun things. So I'll be up there with some of the other premium edition crew, and yeah, it'll be fun going to one of my first conventions since I think like that E3 that me and Steve went to. So it'll be pretty nice to be out there with other gamers and other people in the industry.
I'm so jealous because they keep announcing guests, and it's like, really, I was supposed to go to this show, and now I'm not. And it's like, son of a, I really want to go because there's so many guests going. It's gonna be a
Yeah,
great show, man.
you waited too long to look for plane tickets, so now it's
Ah,
too
man.
pricey. And
Well, that and new team members joined us that are going, so and they were going anyway. So I was like, ah, man. But no, it's got a great lineup of guests. I am so jealous. I can't wait to hear your stories.
Yeah,
I'm so jealous.
that's awesome. Yeah, yeah.
I'm sad that you didn't want to come out and meet me.
Oh no, I did. It just wasn't
No,
able
yeah,
to.
you gotta give him a hard time from this point forward because
Exactly.
you can
He
never leave it
canceled out on
down
me.
because apparently I canceled out on meeting Barry on my way out to Colorado and he's never let
You
me live
did.
it down. So you gotta
I
make sure
haven't
you
brought that
keep
up.
going.
I haven't brought that up in years.
Years.
Although I will say this, Dan from Playcraftings to this day still says, "Is Steve gonna show up? Is Steve gonna come out?" Every time I talk with him, so
I feel
you
like
let him down.
I feel like we know each other even though we've only had like that one conversation. Just because he expects me to be out there, which is really awesome actually, but yeah. Hey, if you do go to conventions, maybe you're going to that one in Milwaukee, and you're going to see Greg. We don't talk about this a whole lot, but we have a merch store, and you should buy a Nintendo Fuse T-shirt or a shirt or sweatshirt or something like that. And that way, Greg can say, "Hey, you know Nintendo Fuse? Cool. Maybe you're one of the podcast listeners or something like that." So you can head over to NintendoFuse.com, check out all our merch at the link that should buy a shirt, and like it'll take you to our merch store, and you can buy all that stuff there. So if you do, that supports us, but it also it's going to allow Greg to be able to see you and spot you a lot easier and say, "Hey, I know you, and you probably listen to me on the podcast, so we can have a conversation and all that stuff." So
Yeah. You have the same shirt that I wear sometimes on the podcast.
there you go. There you go. So cool. Well, it's been awesome chatting with all of you as always about video games, and yeah, we'll be back on April 25th for our next live recording of episode 250. We've almost there, guys. Almost 250. We're a quarter of the way to 1,000 episodes. But well, maybe get there by the time we die. But yeah, episode 250, recording live on April 26th. Hope to see you there in the live chat. But until then, happy gaming, everybody.
Have a good one.
See you guys next time.